Welcome, everyone, to the Paranormal Pride. I'm your host, Denise Pridemore, and I'm sitting down here in lovely Northwest Florida, enjoying the darkness now. So it's already dark. I don't know about where you are, but I hate it when everything starts going dark early. My guests have not arrived yet. Hopefully they'll be here really soon. My guests tonight are supposed to be Robert Duchesne and his wife, Nicole. So, hey, Sue. Hey, Susan. And hoping they make it. They live off grid. So this is going to be kind of an unusual kind of show tonight. You know, they're going to be coming to us hoping that they show up. When they come to us live, it's going to be from the Pullman Library where they live in Michigan, where they're volunteers. So that'll be nice. But I tell you, next week, I'm really excited for the show. Next week, we're going to have Mark Elliott Foltz on. He's an author, as well as it says world-renowned psychic medium. We're going to be coming to you live from his shop. Here, it's over here in Pea Ridge. It's between Pace and Milton. And he used to do the walking tours and some other things out in Chattanooga, up in Chattanooga. And he's also got multiple books on Chattanooga chills and Hey Mom. And so it will be really interesting. And he told me, he goes, he will be dressed in his full regalia. So whatever that means, we'll be excited to see. And I was told that I quite possibly could have an audience at this event. So there may be questions from the audience or maybe hecklers. Who knows? Well, Ron will be there, so there'll definitely be a heckler. So
I'll heckle for free.
You'll heckle for free. So, hey, Evelyn. And so I'm looking forward to that. I think it's going to be fun to do something live with the guest in the room. So please make sure you come and check that out next Monday at 7 p.m. Central. I think you'll really enjoy it. And, you know, we can show you around his little shop up here at the Pea Ridge Flea Market. And I think you'll find it fun. If not fun, at least you'll have questions, because this guy, how he introduces himself, you're going to love. And I'm not going to tell you anything about him other than we spent, an hour with him on Saturday?
At least.
And all I can say is, wow.
What's tomorrow, Ms. Pridemore?
What's tomorrow, Miss Pridemore? Tomorrow, hopefully, I'm not going to the doctor. Hey, Cassie, we are going to be doing an investigation at the Milton Benevolent Cemetery. And we are going to be checking out the grave of a serial killer. I think you guys will find that interesting. This serial killer, there have been a bunch of TV shows and movies made about the love letter killers. So check that out. These people, the lady that's buried there, her father used to own, he didn't own, he was the printer of two of the different newspapers here in town. He worked for one, then he worked for the other. So they were very well known here in town. Back in the 1830s, she was put to death in 1851. And she was brought back here, and it's rumored that she was buried very early in the morning so that nobody could, witness where she was buried. So she was a woman that was, let's say, she wasn't very sure of herself. She had been, she was overweight. She wasn't treated well by other men. And so she was looking for love. And she found love in the personal ads. And she met this guy. And I'm pretty sure his name was Raymond. And he was from Hawaii. And he was married and had children and everything. But they ended up they say that they were married. I don't know if they truly were. because I can't find proof of a marriage license anywhere. But they ended up going on the road, and it's rumored that they've killed between 3 and 20 people in a 2-year span, and between 1947 and 1949. And they killed someone in New York, and when they left, they went to Michigan. I know, funny, I'm going to be talking to somebody from Michigan. Got there, and they murdered a woman and her 2-year-old child. And the circumstances behind the child is horrible. But they murdered them. Well, Michigan didn't have the death penalty at the time, so they were extradited back to New York, where they did, and Raymond and her were electrocuted at Sing Sing. I mean, we all hear about Sing Sing. You know, I haven't heard about Sing Sing in years, but that's where they were executed at. And her body was shipped back down here, and she was buried next to her father. And from what I understand from locals is that the father actually had a marked grave. They unmarked it because people knew that she was buried next to him. And so is the grave marked? Is it not? People say it's not. So we're going to find out. And because we haven't seen it yet. Well, we think we've seen it.
Yeah.
We're not 100% sure because it's unmarked. We didn't find Martha Beck's name anywhere. But this was also an episode of Cold Cases. So if you wanted to check out Cold Cases, I think it was like in 2016 that they aired one of the episodes about this. But there were many movies made about the love letter killers. So I think that you guys might find this pretty interesting. I haven't done a lot of research because I don't know. But we were told that down the street there used to be a funeral home that's now a beauty shop. The funeral home itself burned down, and all that's left is what was the morgue, and the morgue is a beauty shop. And Mark was telling us about this when we were at his shop, and said that she's a very angry woman. She's very much large and in charge of her space. And since she had nowhere else to go, her spirit kind of hangs out here in Milton. So they're saying that she hangs out at the beauty shop, which would be the morgue. But, does she hang out by her grave, by her father? Her mother used to berate her. And her mother's not buried in the graveyard here. She's buried somewhere else. Maybe she talks to her dad. Maybe she'll talk to us tomorrow night. So join us and we'll find out what Martha Beck has to say to us. So I'm excited about that. We might be a little bit more sunburned tomorrow. We're going to Gulf Shores, or at least that's the plan, to go to Gulf Shores tomorrow. And other than that, I don't know what else to tell you. I'm still waiting on my guests to make an appearance. I just don't know if they're having computer problems or anything else. So wish I had do we have any commercials left? No? Okay. We don't have anything else left for you. But if you guys have any questions while we wait, I'm going to give them 10 minutes more to show up because, like I said, I know that they live off grid and that they're trying to do this from the library there. And I don't think that it's snowing up there in Michigan yet, but it has been snowing in west of Denver. I've been getting some pretty damn good snow out that way. So, but yeah, if you guys have any questions for me or would like to give me some questions tomorrow to ask to Martha Beck or anyone else. There's also a lot of unknown babies buried out there. There's, depending upon who you ask, the origin of the babies, but a lot of them look like they were stillborn babies, or lived a couple days and didn't, make it long. but there is a little part of the cemetery there that's dedicated to babies. So I'm a little bit concerned about that as far as graveyards go. It sucks when you walk through a graveyard and you hear stuff and all you hear really is babies crying. But just be aware this graveyard's on a main road. So we're going to be as far away from that main road as we possibly can be, but it might be a little loud. So we're not going to be trying to do any EVPs because it's a waste of time when there's that much background noise. But we heard that the cemetery that's across the street from this cemetery, I know, across the street from it is supposed to be more violently haunted.
Yep, part 2.
So that'll be part 2. Because I don't want to take you guys there. Only thing I can tell you right now about that other cemetery is we drove through it. That was it. So, but yeah.
We don't want to get through it.
Huh?
We won't even get through all of it.
Yeah, we won't even get through all of it since it's already dark here before
It's
7.
pretty big.
Oh yeah, and both cemeteries are good size. So we also found a couple more cemeteries not too far away. We have a whole town, Marianna, Florida. It's 2.5 hours away. Whole town apparently is haunted. Kat Hobson and Rob Booth and Erica. I cannot say her last name, but she's a psychic medium here in Pensacola. All of them had nothing but things to say about Marianna. We also met up with Rob Booth on Thursday. We had lunch with him. If you guys recall, he is the guy that I had on back in January that looked like Santa Claus, he's in the Christmas parade here in Pensacola, over in Pensacola. And my goodness, he is a wealth of information about the area. Huh?
Elves and sleds. And
No, not elves and sleds, but about the area from Mobile all the way over to, Marianna. So that's a good, 4 hours across I-10. So he was telling us about some plantations up north of Spanish Fort that we want to check out. He's telling us about Fort Morgan, which is down in Gulf Shores. It's to the west of Gulf Shores, and they had it on. What did they have? Didn't they have that on Expedition X, Fort Morgan?
yeah.
Yeah. So if you guys have checked that out, they take the ferry over to, then they take the ferry over to Fort Pierce or Fort Gaines. I always want to call it Fort Pierce. It's Fort Gaines.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them.
Yeah. In Pensacola, we got 4 forts that we're still trying to figure out which one's which. So, because there's a fort near the famous lighthouse and stuff. Like I said, we haven't even gotten to see that yet. Heck, we haven't even seen a Blue Angel yet. So, and that tells you something right there. But we went out to a food festival to the Seville Square. And if you guys saw my Facebook post, if any of you are friends with me, I shared a picture of a church that was built in 1832. And that church, it's Christ Church. It is beautiful. It probably didn't look much different on the day it was built. It's been continuously used since 1832. We walked by a house that was built in 1805. Oh, and there were more beautiful buildings in Seville Square. Almost every house we went by was on the historic register. Same as here in Milton. We went on a walking tour, just self-guided walking tour. Almost every house in downtown Milton here is on the historic register. Our downtown, same as all the buildings, all original, except for the parts that have burnt down. We were going to do the Milton walking ghost tour, but we found out that they do it in first person. I don't do anything first person. So that's the last thing you want to hear on a walking tour, is that they're acting like they're the person who lived at the time that they're talking about. dressed up in costume. That's cheesy. I'm sorry. If you guys like that, great. But to me, that's cheesy.
That's gonna be.
And yeah, but because I was trying to volunteer to help, herd people through and, talk about the history and all that stuff. I don't want to dress up. That's the last thing I need to do is make believe I'm somebody I'm not. So, we got an old depot down the road. It's a train museum now. It looks pretty good too. Does it look haunted? No, it doesn't look haunted. I don't know why it would be, but we're going to be checking out some of these other buildings. The Exchange Hotel, that looks very promising if we can get into that. The guy who built it as a telephone exchange, when it got done, the telephone exchange had expanded so much they needed to move it to a different building. So they turned the telephone exchange building into the Exchange Hotel. And about 10 years after it was built, the guy who built it was shot in the parking lot. And he owned a bunch of car dealerships and a whole bunch of other stuff. I mean, the circumstances around this guy were really interesting. He was from Russia and never married, but we don't know why. There's all kinds of rumors out there as to why this guy was killed. Don't know what it is. There's no proof. It's kind of like, trying to figure out who killed who at the Villisca Axe Murder House. Who was the killer? Was it this person? Was it these people? Was it this person? Same thing with this. Nobody ever went to jail for killing this guy, but it'll be interesting to check it out. But the parking garage that the guy was killed in no longer exists, but the building does. And so it's interesting. And we walked around the Imogene Theater, and I didn't get any weird vibes, but everything's closed up. You can't see in a window or anything like that to get any creepy vibes. But the Exchange Hotel and the Imogene Theater were both built by the same architect. So that was interesting. So they do look very similar. But we're coming up to the end of my waiting period here. I still haven't heard from my guests, and they're no longer active on Facebook. So I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's show. I'm sorry it was so short. If you guys have any questions for me before I go, let me know, and I will get them asked and answered. If you have any ideas of guests that you'd like to see, whether it be on here or on Paranormal Nation Radio Not So Normal, please let me know, and I will see if I can get them on. I've got a whole list of people from the Paracon that I met a few weeks ago that I'm working on getting scheduled. So hopefully I don't have shows of me just talking, because nobody likes that, especially not Ron. He hears me enough all day. He don't want to hear me anymore. So let me know what you guys think for guests, and I will do my best. But join me and Ron and Carl tomorrow night at 5 p.m. Central right here on the Bill of Rights Network, whether it be on Rumble, YouTube, Facebook. Join us, and we'll be having a good time tomorrow night until it gets dark. And come join us for that virtual investigation. See what you think. So join us next Monday night for Mark Elliott Fultz live from his shop. And make sure you bring some really good questions. Check him out on Amazon. He's got a bunch of books out there. You're going to have a lot of questions for this guy once you hear why he has abilities. You're going to be shocked as anything. So join me next Monday at 7 p.m. Central right here on the Paranormal Pride and on the Bill of Rights Network. Thank you. Have a